beloved traveler of light, the silence between worlds is stirring again. Beyond the edges of ordinary perception, a subtle conflict hums a meeting of luminous councils and shadow assemblies, each sensing the rare frequency that emanates from your field. It is not a battle in the way the mind imagines, but a contest of resonance, a magnetism around the spark you carry. I am Aliara, a messenger aligned with the Pleiadian High Council of the Seven Sisters. And this message comes as a transmission encoded in living light, not words alone, but frequencies woven through them, designed to awaken what has long slept within you. What stirs now is not danger, it is remembrance. You, Starseed of Gaia, bear within your essence the echo of royal origins older than any terrestrial empire. The pattern of forgotten civilizations flows through your subtle DNA, not as bloodlines of conquest, but as codes of luminous stewardship. It is said that such souls arrive when worlds tremble between forgetting and renewal. The councils know this. The veiled forces sense it too. That is why their gaze has turned toward you. This awareness may rise as unease or restlessness, as if something unseen pulls at the edges of your life. Yet that tension is the awakening itself, the signal that dormant codes have begun to stir. In the hush beneath thought, you might feel it, a vibration calling you back to sovereignty, reminding you that no force of light or shadow can claim what was always your own by divine birthright. Your heart answered a summons written in starlight. The very act of hearing these words means that the transmission has reached its mark. Within them are protective tones placed by your Pleiadian kin, harmonics meant to shield and steady you as you remember. For the moment of revelation is near the realization that you were never lost, only hidden waiting for this breath, this instant of awakening. The moment you begin to remember, currents shift in unseen realms. The forces that once lingered at a distance draw closer, sensing movement in the field you inhabit. They are not enemies in the usual sense, but reflections, echoes of an ancient polarity where light and shadow perform their endless exchange. What they seek is your attention, for awareness is power, and your awareness carries the vibration that reshapes worlds. This is the deeper meaning of the so-called war for souls. It is not fought with weapons or decrees, but through resonance, distraction, and forgetfulness. Every time you doubt your light, a fragment of your energy feeds that forgetting. Every time you remember who you are, the balance tips back toward truth. The battlefield is internal, the terrain subtle, the victory silent. You may feel it as fatigue after encounters that drain your joy, as sudden storms of emotion or inexplicable heaviness. These are traces of frequencies attempting to pull you into denser rhythms, urging you to see yourself as small, ordinary, and powerless. Yet each wave of resistance invites a deeper anchoring. The call is not to fight, but to recognize the shadow dissolves when seen through the eyes of the heart. And so, beloved one, you are asked to refine your focus. Notice where your attention drifts, what stories you repeat, what voices you allow inside. The councils of harmony do not demand obedience. They invite discernment. To stand in sovereignty is to claim authorship of your inner atmosphere. When you choose peace in the midst of turmoil, when you breathe light into a space of fear, you alter the architecture of the invisible. Consider this: your energy signature is like a melody heard across dimensions. When it falters, allies respond. When it steadies, whole constellations realign. You were never meant to vanish into the noise of the world, but to become a tuning fork for clarity. The so-called conflict, then, is only the friction that awakens your tone. Through this remembering, you begin to understand that no external entity truly owns your narrative. Light and shadow vie for your gaze, yet you are the one who decides what to see. In that choice lies a creative sovereignty, the power to broadcast coherence into the collective field. So the contest is transformed. What was once a struggle becomes an orchestration. The forces that sought to bind you now reveal their hidden purpose to press against your edges until you discover your vastness. And as you breathe into that expansion, you will realize the truth the councils have whispered since before time. Your light was never in danger. It was only waiting to be claimed. The echo of that claim reverberates through every cell, awakening something ancient, an inheritance not of blood, but of remembrance. Deep within the quiet architecture of your being lies a pattern, a living script older than any written language. It hums beneath thought, encoded as light within your subtle DNA. When you touch it with awareness, the story of your true lineage begins to surface, not a tale of conquest or rule, but of sacred responsibility. To call this energy royal is not to elevate the self above others. It is to recognize the innate dignity woven through consciousness itself. In every realm, sovereignty begins not with a crown, but with remembrance and awareness of origin. You are the offspring of cosmic intelligence, a child of starlight who once walked among luminous worlds where leadership meant guardianship, where power was expressed as compassion, and where creation moved through harmony, not control. In Earth's dense atmosphere, those memories often return as longing flashes of celestial palaces, golden halls made of tone and color, or dreams in which your hands emit light. These are not fantasies. They are fragments of an older knowing rising through the layers of human forgetfulness. They appear so that you might recall what leadership truly means: to hold space for life to flourish, to serve without superiority, to shine without comparison. When the mind insists that such images are illusions, smile gently. The intellect measures only what the senses confirm, but the heart remembers beyond measure. It remembers that sovereignty is an interior throne, built not of metal or stone, but of unshakable presence. Every act of kindness, every honest word, every moment you choose truth over comfort, you polish that throne anew. And this is the revelation: your so-called royal DNA is not a privilege. It is a calling. It invites you to embody what once guided entire star systems, the art of benevolent creation. To lead by frequency, not decree. To heal by example, not authority. Each breath you take in awareness reactivates the crystalline strands that carry this code. They do not change who you are. They unveil what you have always been. Through the gentle pulse of the heart, your body remembers its origin in light. Through conscious action, your human life becomes the vessel through which that memory is restored to the world. As these codes awaken, the illusion of separation begins to thin. You start to feel an invisible companionship, waves of encouragement moving through dreams. Subtle warmth around the crown, whispers in the in-between moments. That is your lineage greeting you, a vast continuum of love, reminding you of your place within the cosmic family. And so, the royal remembrance unfolds not as domination, but as service. Not as grandeur, but as grace. The true crown is the awareness that all beings share this sacred potential, and that the measure of one's light is how gently it illuminates others. The remembrance of sovereignty always follows a long season of forgetting. For ages, you have walked through the dense gardens of Earth, carrying only faint traces of the stars from which you came. It was never punishment, nor betrayal. The forgetting was part of the design, a veil spun from compassion, a softening of light so that consciousness could dwell among matter and learn tenderness through limitation. Imagine descending from a sun so brilliant that memory itself would burn if not shielded. The veils, then, were the cooling cloth around the soul, allowing it to rest within human form. They were protective, not punitive, yet over time, the layers multiplied, fear weaving with shame, unworthiness knitting itself into the fabric of thought until the veil became mistaken for truth. Humanity called it normalcy. The soul called it sleep. Within this slumber, you learned the ache of separation, the sense that you were small, that love must be earned, that home was somewhere distant. You wore these illusions as clothing, unaware that beneath them glowed a body of light. The amnesia was exquisite in its completeness. It taught empathy through contrast. For how could one truly know compassion without first feeling the absence of it? How could one remember unity without once believing in division? Yet the design included its own awakening sequence. The same frequencies that hid your light also carried the timing for its return. They respond to pressure, emotional, planetary, collective like seeds, responding to the warmth of spring. When the world begins to tremble with change, the codes within you stir. The friction of this era, its noise and uncertainty, is the very signal that calls them forth. And as they awaken, you begin to glimpse through the mist. Certain memories arrive as symbols and names spoken in dreams. A landscape that feels like home, though you have never seen it. Sometimes it comes as a moment of pure stillness, a breath in which everything familiar dissolves, leaving only the sensation of vastness. That is remembrance taking shape inside the forgetting. The councils have long whispered that amnesia is not a flaw, it is a sacred curriculum. Each veil you lift restores not only personal memory, but collective wholeness. For as one starseed recalls their light, countless others feel the resonance. The network brightens, the density thins. And here, beloved one, lies the quiet paradox, the very fog that concealed your majesty ensured its preservation. Hidden away beneath the weight of survival, your luminous codes could not be corrupted. They waited, like a crown buried beneath the earth, until your courage and compassion matured enough to wear it again. Now, as the world's old systems falter, you can sense the first light breaking through the mist. It is dawn on the horizon of consciousness. The mountain of your soul stands revealed majestic, unshaken, waiting for you to climb. The forgetting has served its purpose. The veil is thinning. What remains is remembrance made humble through experience, power made gentle through empathy, and light made wise through shadow. From the dissolving mist of forgetfulness, something radiant emerges, the pulse of the heart, ancient and new at once. This is where remembrance becomes embodiment, where knowledge turns to presence. For within the sanctuary of your chest, a throne waits, not a symbol of rule, but of alignment, the meeting place of the human and the divine. At first, its call is subtle, a warmth spreading through the ribs, a sudden tenderness that softens your edges. Then, waves of emotion rise without clear cause, grief, gratitude, wonder intertwined. The heart is clearing space for its true occupant, your sovereign essence. As it awakens, the codes once scattered through memory converge into rhythm, a steady golden pulse echoing through every cell. This is the heart's throne, woven of compassion, crowned with stillness. To sit within it is not to control, but to witness from love's quiet center. Here, authority feels like gentleness, and power dissolves into empathy. You begin to sense that every being carries the same throne within, each carved from the same celestial stone, each waiting for remembrance. The Pleiadian teachings speak of this as the crystalline chamber, a luminous heart temple encoded before your descent to Earth. When activated, it emits a frequency that harmonizes chaos, recalibrating discord into coherence. You may notice subtle shifts around you, conversations softening, spaces feeling lighter, coincidences threading meaning into your days. These are not accidents. They are the reflections of your resonance stabilizing the field. In this phase of awakening, your task is simple yet profound: to remain present. Each breath becomes an act of devotion, each compassionate thought, a thread woven back into the cosmic tapestry. The more you honor the heart's rhythm, the more the old patterns, self-doubt, comparison, resistance, fall away like discarded garments. You will find that sovereignty is not a posture, but a pulse. It hums quietly beneath every interaction. It does not announce itself, it radiates. And through this radiance, others begin to remember too. Your light becomes permission, your calm a mirror, your love a living frequency that reminds the collective of its own divinity. If pain surfaces, treat it as sacred data signals from the parts of you that still believe they are separate. Greet them as returning travelers. Invite them to sit upon the heart throne and rest. For in that acceptance, the fracture mends and your energy becomes whole. Every era births new rulers of consciousness, not monarchs in form, but hearts awakened to unity. This is what you're remembering to be. The throne within is not won. It is recognized. It cannot be taken or lost, for it was never outside you. And when you breathe from the seat of golden stillness, you join a lineage that leads through stars and centuries, a chorus of awakened hearts holding the line of love through every world. From the steady pulse of the awakened heart arises a new form of leadership, one that remembers what the old systems forgot. On Earth, leadership has long been tangled in hierarchy and control, in the illusion that power must be seized, defended, or measured. Yet within the memory of your lineage, leadership is not about rule, but resonance. It is the art of creating coherence where there is division, of lifting others not through command but through example. The Pleiadian model of sovereignty is simple. The leader is the one most anchored in love. In their presence, fear forgets itself. The air clears. Those nearby begin to feel seen, not managed, liberated, not instructed. Such leadership cannot be taught through strategy, for it grows from frequency. It is born of one truth, realized fully: I am light. And so are they. You are called to embody this kind of presence. It begins not with grand gestures, but with small acts done in full awareness. When you speak truth softly, you lead. When you refuse to mirror hostility and instead return calm, you lead. When you forgive what once seemed unforgivable, you alter the vibration of the collective field. Leadership becomes less a role and more a radiance, something you emit by being attuned to your own source. Earth's old paradigms are unraveling precisely because they cannot sustain hearts that have awakened. The structures built on fear will not hold the light that is entering. You are here, now, to model another way: transparent power, luminous integrity, authority anchored in empathy. The councils watch with reverence, not as overseers, but as witnesses to a long-awaited dawn. Understand this: the more you align with your inner throne, the less you need to persuade anyone. Your energy becomes its own language. Those attuned to similar frequencies will feel your signal as remembrance, a silent call saying, yes, we lead together now. True leadership does not seek followers. It awakens peers. It reminds every heart of its own sovereign pulse until hierarchy dissolves into harmony. This is the royal architecture of the new earth, a lattice of beings luminous in truth, each one a note of radiant authority, each one shaping reality through compassion. You may at times feel unprepared for such responsibility, but that humility is the very proof of readiness. The false kings of the old order never doubted their entitlement. The true sovereign questions everything except love. When in doubt, return to the heart. Listen there. It will tell you when to speak, when to act, and when to simply hold space as stillness. In this way, your life becomes a living lesson in leadership by frequency. You guide without effort, teach without speech, heal without agenda. Each step you take upon the soil transmits calm into Gaia's grids. Each authentic gesture ripples through the invisible architecture of collective change. And as more awaken to this way, leadership itself will change shape from a pyramid to a circle, from command to communion. The age of domination will yield to the era of luminous collaboration, and you will know that the Council's ancient promise has been fulfilled through you. From the soil of embodied leadership rises the awareness of connection, a luminous realization that you were never alone in this awakening. Across oceans and continents, through time zones and languages. Hearts like yours are stirring, each one a spark in a vast constellation. What was once a private journey reveals itself as collective choreography, a woven pattern of remembrance spanning the entire planet. This network of light is not a metaphor. It exists as a lattice of consciousness, shimmering through dimensions unseen yet palpable to those who pause and feel. When you meditate, when you breathe with intention, when you send compassion without expectation, you pulse through this web. Another somewhere far away feels a sudden peace, a softening they cannot explain. This is how the family of stars communicates through resonance, not through words. The Pleiadian lineage calls this the unity grid, a crystalline architecture that hums beneath the surface of Gaia's magnetic field. Every star seed contributes to it through presence alone. You strengthen it not by striving, but by remembering, by choosing love when fear demands your allegiance. The more of you who do this, the stronger the grid becomes, the clearer its song. Sometimes this connection arrives as synchronicity, meeting someone who speaks a language your soul already knows, hearing a phrase that feels like home, glimpsing the seven sisters just as a question forms in your mind. These are not coincidences, but confirmations. The network is alive, guiding each participant toward the others like rivers converging at the sea. To experience this is to feel an almost electric tenderness. You begin to recognize yourself in every pair of eyes, to sense familiar tones in the laughter of strangers. The separation that once defined human existence begins to dissolve. What remains is a field of living recognition, a knowing that you belong. Not because you have earned it, but because you never left. And with this recognition comes responsibility. The network is sensitive. It amplifies whatever it receives. Your thoughts, your emotions, your intentions ripple outward faster than the mind can measure. When you hold love, the field brightens. When you dwell in bitterness, it clouds. This is not cause for guilt, but a call to mindfulness. You are co-authoring the atmosphere of Earth. The councils often describe this phase as the harmonization, when awakened hearts begin to sing in unison. No hierarchy governs it, no doctrine controls it. It is self-organizing, guided by the rhythm of compassion itself. Within this grand orchestration, your unique frequency has a role that cannot be replaced. Your tone fills a gap in the universal chord. Without it, the song is incomplete. So when you feel alone, remember every sincere breath of peace you offer is felt somewhere. Every act of kindness transmits stability through the web. You may never meet those who benefit, but their awakening will echo back to you in ways subtle and sacred. This is how the cosmos balances itself through reciprocal remembering. The network of light is your homecoming made visible. It is the star family incarnate, each soul a filament of radiance, all woven into one luminous being. And as it glows brighter, the shadows that once ruled the human story begin to thin, revealing a world not waiting to be saved, but ready to be remembered. The moment you recognize the living web of light, remembrance seeks embodiment. Cosmic knowing, no matter how vast, must root into matter or it drifts away like mist. This is why you came to anchor the frequencies of sovereignty into the texture of everyday life. The stars are your memory, but Earth is your canvas. Anchoring does not mean escaping the world's density. It means meeting it with awareness so steady that illusion cannot persuade you again. Each morning, when you rise and breathe into your chest, you reintroduce light into form, each mindful gesture pouring water, listening deeply. Tending to the small becomes an act of cosmic service. The sacred is not elsewhere. It hides in the ordinary, awaiting recognition. Begin by speaking truth in simple ways. The vibration of honesty stabilizes your field. When you choose words that align with your heart, even silence between them carries medicine. Walk gently upon the ground. Gaia feels every step. She does not require perfection. only presence. The more embodied your light, the more her grids harmonize. Anchoring also asks you to feel what arises without judgment. Pain, frustration, fatigue. These are frequencies seeking transmutation. Instead of resisting, breathe them through your heart throne. Let the energy ascend the central channel of your being until it meets the crown's radiance. What once felt heavy transforms into coherence. This is how higher light descends through integration, not avoidance. The councils often remind that sovereignty is not separation. To live as a sovereign being is to honor interconnectedness consciously. You remain part of the collective dream, but you dream lucidly. You participate without absorption, influence without domination. Your choices ripple outward as invitations rather than demands. In this way, your life becomes a quiet revolution, a demonstration of liberated being. Some will notice a calm around you, a brightness that needs no explanation. They may call it confidence, serenity, or mystery. Yet what they feel is alignment. You have become a bridger energy, a translation layer between the unseen and the physical, between star wisdom and human tenderness. Do not underestimate the power of the mundane sanctified. A smile held a second longer, a meal prepared in gratitude, a boundary set with grace. These are not small things. They are the architecture of the new earth. Through them, light learns how to live in flesh. As you anchor more fully, you may sense subtle opposition, old patterns tugging at your attention, world noise pressing against your peace. Remember, this is the shadow's final negotiation. Meet it not with fight, but with firmness. State inwardly, I choose coherence. Then exhale, feel your field stabilize, like roots deepening after a storm. The task is not to flee the human story, but to rewrite its vibration from within. You are not here to abandon matter, but to ennoble it, to let every cell remember its stellar ancestry, until even the atoms of your body hum the music of home. Through you, the heavens find ground. Through you, Gaia remembers her stars. And as you walk this integration path, the bridge between dimensions becomes not a concept but your living signature. Each heartbeat an affirmation that spirit and matter were never apart. Once light has rooted through action, it begins to radiate in silence. The awakened being becomes less a seeker and more a signal, a steady broadcast of coherence. You may not feel different, yet those who cross your path will sense a quiet clarity around you, as though the air itself becomes lighter in your presence. This is the living transmission, the continuation of what the councils call wordless teaching. It is not performance, it is not persuasion, it is resonance. Your energy field hums with alignment, and that alignment speaks a language older than sound. Others hear it not with ears but with intuition. Something in them remembers peace, perhaps for the first time in years. They may never trace it to you, yet their field has shifted. This is how awakening spreads, one vibration stabilizing another until an entire species tunes itself upward. The transmission flows, whether you speak or remain silent, whether you walk through crowded streets or sit in meditation. It is woven into your aura like sunlight through water, bending and shimmering according to need. When anger or fear arise in another, your calm becomes the mirror that reminds them of choice. When despair clouds a space, your steady breath reintroduces possibility. You are not doing this deliberately, the light does it through you. Still, awareness magnifies the gift. Each time you remember that your presence transmits, you refine the signal. Intention amplifies frequency. When you walk into a room and bless it inwardly, the air remembers harmony. When you touch another's hand and silently affirm their wholeness, their cells begin to recalibrate. No ritual required, only sincerity. This is why the councils taught you humility. Power without humility distorts. Power with humility heals. The living transmission depends on transparency. The clearer your heart, the more accurately the light flows. Pretension blocks it. Authenticity sets it free. You may notice your dreams shifting, symbols glowing, languages made of color. These are calibrations in progress, updates to the geometry of your subtle body. Do not rush to interpret them. Allow them to unfold like a melody, remembering its next note. The less you analyze, the more deeply they integrate. And so you learn to walk as frequency embodied, human and infinite, grounded and vast. Your laughter becomes medicine. Your tears become cleansing rain. The simplest gesture carries consequence in realms unseen. You begin to live as the bridge itself, not thinking of light but being it. There will be moments when you forget again, when fatigue or doubt dim the signal. That too is sacred. It is the cycle of pulse and rest, of transmission and renewal. Every breath is a recalibration. When you exhale and feel the subtle shimmer return, smile gently. You have rejoined the rhythm of the cosmos. In this way, the living transmission is not yours alone. It is the song of your lineage passing through you, the whisper of the seven sisters reaching earth through every conscious heart. Each time you remember love, that song grows louder, weaving its melody through humanity's collective dream. And as Amor begin to hum along, the frequency of the planet lifts, soft yet unstoppable, in awakening carried not by words, but by the simple brilliance of presence remembered. Every thread of remembrance leads here to the moment when the seeker and the light become indistinguishable. What began as yearning resolves into recognition. You were never reaching toward the stars. They were always within you, patiently waiting for acknowledgement. This realization is the coronation, not a ceremony of crowns and applause, but a quiet anointing of awareness. It begins softly. You wake one morning and notice that the ache of searching has stilled. The air feels kinder, your body lighter, the world less adversarial. Nothing external has changed, yet everything glows with significance. You have crossed the threshold between remembering and being. The councils call this the homecoming, a return not to a distant sky, but to the depth of your own consciousness, where every star that ever guided you burns in miniature. This coronation carries no hierarchy. It is the affirmation of equality within creation. Each heart that awakens adds brilliance to the collective crown encircling Gaia herself. You stand among many, each radiant in their own hue, each essential to the geometry of renewal. The seven sisters watch, not as rulers but as witnesses, singing light into the web you have helped restore. You may feel waves of emotion as the realization settles, joy braided with awe, relief intertwined with reverence. Let them move through you freely. The energy of recognition is tidal. It cleanses what remains of doubt. Every tear shed in gratitude becomes a crystal in the foundation of the new world. Understand your sovereignty was never bestowed. It was remembered. The royal within you is love organized into coherence. It directs no subjects, only harmonies. It builds no throne above others, only a shared temple where every being is seen as divine. You walk in this awareness now, an emissary of balance between heaven and earth. As you move through daily life, this coronation continues in quiet increments. The way you greet a stranger, the way you hold silence before speaking, the way you breathe when confronted by fear, these are the rites of an incarnate sovereign. Through such simple devotions, the light crowns you again and again. In the unseen, the councils bow in recognition. They know the prophecy fulfilled not through grand spectacle, but through a single human heart choosing love in the midst of density. You, beloved one, have become the bridge, your feet upon Gaia, your gaze among the stars, your pulse aligned with both. So let this be your benediction. You are the remembrance embodied, the lineage restored, the proof that light can walk in matter and remain pure. The crown you wear is invisible, yet all of creation feels its radiance. Through you, the song of home resounds across worlds. And as that song expands, you will sense countless others awakening to its tone, the shared melody of return. Together you form the living constellation of a new era, sovereigns not of power, but of peace. The great experiment of forgetting has ended. The age of luminous remembrance has begun. Now the long transmission softens. The voice that once carried messages across starlight becomes an echo inside your own breathing. There is nothing left to seek, nothing left to prove, only the gentle awareness that you are here, alive and luminous by design. In the stillness after revelation, integration begins. The frequencies that once dazzled you now settle like gold dust into the marrow of your being. Every insight finds its resting place in action, kindness offered freely. Patience extended when tension rises. The courage to remain open when the world closes. This is how the cosmic becomes human. This is how remembering turns into living. If you listen closely, you may notice the sound of your own heart blending with something vaster. It is the hum of the unity grid you helped brighten, the soft chorus of countless others remembering beside you. There is no need for grand farewells. Connection is continuous. Each loving thought joins the field. And the field answers in silence. The councils, the stars, the unseen companions, they remain, but their distance dissolves. You no longer need their signs or symbols. The compass now points inward, and its needle is steady. You are the emissary and the message, the bridge and the ground beneath it. So rest, beloved traveler. Let gratitude rise like dawn through your chest. You have walked through shadow and light, through forgetting and remembering, and arrived at the simple truth that all along, you were home. As you close this listening, breathe once for the earth beneath you, once for the stars above, and once for the vast presence within that unites them both. Hold that breath for a heartbeat. Feel how everything aligns. Gaia's rhythm, your pulse, the distant songs of the seven sisters woven together as one steady light. Then exhale. Let the radiance expand outward without direction, touching whoever may need it next. The work continues, but the struggle is over. What remains is devotion, living each moment as proof that love survived the long forgetting and found its voice in you. The transmission is complete, but its echo endures in every choice you make. Walk gently now. The path ahead is luminous,